fires, end zone, touchdown! Touchdown! Intercepted! Touchdown! Teddy Bruschi, will he get it? They just got it! We're Super Bowl!
Welcome to New England Ford Patriots 5th Quarter. Brought to you by the New England Ford Dealers, home of the best-selling cars and trucks in New England.
All right, welcome everybody to the 5th quarter here on CBS 4. We're certainly not used to this. I mean, 21 straight times you go to the well and you come up smiling. And this one, I guess if you're going to lose, it's better than losing by a point in overtime. But Bob Newmeyer with Bob Lobel, usually we'd be down in Foxborough, but there's a lot of stuff going on, including the word that we just received that the Indians lost once again, and the Red Sox have made the playoffs no matter what happens over Fenway Park. We'll get to that later. So, as we said, a lot of stuff going on. So what happened today?
Well, I'm going through this record book here, Fast and Furious, and November 8th, 1998, the Atlanta Falcons beat the Patriots at home here in New England, 41-10. That was the last time an opponent put up 41 points against the Patriots in Boston, in Foxborough, if you will. San Diego 17-17 at the half. Let's face it, they just took it to them in the second half. Every time they needed a third down, they converted. They exposed some severe weaknesses in the Patriots secondary, and they beat them to a pulp, fair and square. They played harder. They played smarter. They were the hungrier team today, and no excuses for New England. They got it handed to them today, Bob, but good.
But good. 21 straight. It's down the chute, and now the Patriots have to somehow regroup, and we did come up with the play of the game, although it's, you know.
Pick your poison.
Pick your poison. Very subjective, but it was the touchdown that put San Diego ahead 31-17, and here it is.
Well, this is Breeze, and he had a terrific game, and this guy really came alive last year. This is a play to Rashae Caldwell. They beat Dwayne Starks, and he had a tough game. Starks beaten here by Caldwell, beaten earlier in the game by Keenan McCardell, and 23 Dwayne Starks that was at the bottom of the depth chart at the start of this year, but with injuries to people like Tyrone Poole and Randall Gay, takes on now added playing time, and Drew Brees made him pay, and the rest of the Patriots secondary. Every time again they needed a big play, it seems that Brees delivered either this guy to Gates or to maybe the best two-way run, pass, catch combo guy in the business in LaDainian Tomlinson. This was no fluke, folks. I mean, they annihilated them.
I can't even remember when the Patriots were shut out in the second half of any game. It's been that long. Let's go down to Foxborough with Steve Burton and Ted Johnson, our setup. Gentlemen?
All right, Bob, thank you very much. How about let's go to Fenway instead? Let me tell you, this place is like a morgue over here. What a difference a week makes. 41-17. Nobody was expecting this, Michael.
I don't expect them to.
Well, no one was expecting that either. You know? Okay, Gillette is up. Nobody was expecting that. And when we find that out, we'll go back and figure out what happened. Pull the plug. It's like now I know how the Patriots feel in that locker room. A plug pulled on them. All right.
By the way, anytime that people at home see those color bars on the screen, if you think that's a helpless feeling for you, imagine us right now. When you see those color bars come up, that's not a good thing for any of us, folks.
It really is not. Don't adjust your set. All right, we're plugged back in. Let's go down to Foxborough. Start all over again, Steve. I'm sure you were going to make a great point.
All right, Bob, yeah, we'll try round two. Why not? 41-17.
Try Johnson this time.
I will. I'll go over to Ted this time. But you brought up the point. I don't think San Diego had to even punt in the second half.
It was total domination in the second half. First half, the Patriots had a very good half and had their way with them. But in the second half, it shoved LT down their throats, and they just had did a very good job of running the ball, and taking the time away from the Patriots. It killed them.
Can I be the first one to say it?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, they missed Rodney Harrison. I mean, you saw some deep balls over the top of the cornerbacks. You saw some soft play in the secondary all the way around between pass interference calls, some bad coverages. I mean, it looked like Zoe just said this off camera. It sort of looked like a practice run where guys were just running with the receivers, not really making a play on the ball, not really making the hits. And I don't know. I looked out there, and I wish 37 was out there.
Well, you looked out there and you saw Dwayne Starks. We'll show you the play of the game again because Caldwell beat Starks on this play, these guys were able to get behind the secondary, and that's what ends up killing the Patriots. And we're not used to this. I mean, nobody's used to seeing the Patriots get beat like this.
Well, I think what you'll see here a lot of times is that there was confusion with the corners and the safety. The corner thought he was having inside help, and he didn't, and vice versa. So there's a lot of confusion. San Diego did a great job of flooding the zone, putting 4 receivers strong, doing crossing routes, making the secondary make a lot of communication, and they just didn't do a good job of it because it's a young secondary. And I guarantee you that there was the McCardle play in the first half, he was double teamed. I mean, he was absolutely double teamed, and there was miscommunication there, and you can't do that. That kills Bill more than anything is when you have a guy double teamed and let him catch the ball anyway.
And you can blame a lot on the secondary, but you cannot cover a guy forever. And Drew Brees had all day to throw the football.
Sure. Well,
all day to throw it.
You know what I think it is when you're playing Tomlinson, you're so worried about the big run that you do play. I don't want to say soft, but you have gap. You're gap conscious. You're not attack conscious. And I don't think the Patriots attacked like they did certainly last week. And maybe that's because they were primarily in the 3-4 today, and the 4-3 is really more their attack defense. But they played in the 3-4 today, and I think they're very conscious of Gates right there, very conscious of Tomlinson, and that gets you to play on your heels and no pressure.
All right, we got Coach Belichick coming to the podium now, so we're going to listen to what Coach Bill has to say.
He's got McCardle, gets the feet down, touchdown.
Well, there's no doubt about it out there today. San Diego's a better team. They outplayed us, they outcoached us. They played extremely well. We didn't make any of the plays that we needed to make. They made an awful lot all through the game, and especially in the second half, obviously. And I don't think there's really too much to say. They did a good job. Did a good job in every area, better than we did, and I think the score reflected that. And we've just, we got to do a better job than that. So they're a good football team. We didn't play our best, and you got to do better than that be competitive against a team like the Chargers. That's a good football team, and they were the better team today.
It seemed like you didn't get any pass rush.
They did a better job at everything than we did. Pass protection, throwing the ball, catching it, converting third down, stopping us, stopping the run, making big plays. You can pick out anything you want. You can say that about every single area of the game. So whichever one you want, go ahead.
Coach, what adjustments did they make defensively in the second half, that kind of stuff?
They played well. I think it was a big adjustment game. They played well. They made the plays that they needed to make, but we didn't make them.
Coach, obviously one of the keys coming in was to slow down and let Andy Tomlinson. You guys didn't do that. Can you talk about what went into what you wanted to get done and how you weren't able to accomplish it?
They ran the ball well. Got a good football team. They ran it well. We didn't stop it as well as we needed to. Didn't stop them on third down. I kept them on the field. So, game just rolled into a series of long drives, a lot of third down conversions.
Bill, what were some of the differences in the second half offensively? You seemed pretty sharp in the first half.
We had a couple negative plays, got knocked out of a couple drives early. They held on to the ball and drove it the length of the field. Took a lot of time off the clock, scored 7 points. And they had 2 long drives for touchdowns, and we weren't really able to hang on to the ball and move it.
Did it hurt the rhythm of your offense to have them sitting on the sideline while the Chargers are eating the clock up like they did?
I don't know. When we go out there, we got to move the ball. We go out there on defense, we got to stop them. They did a good job in both those areas. That's I don't know what else I can tell you.
Bill, what made Gates so difficult to stop today?
They got a good offense. I mean, they got a lot of good players. You can't take one guy away. They name a guy out there that did make a play for them offensively. So they got a lot of weapons. You can take one away, and they got 3 or 4 other guys to go to. That's why they're good on offense. They got a lot of guys that can make plays. You can't take away one guy against them. The other 4 will make it. So you pick out the guy you want to get, but that's not enough. You got to get a lot more than one guy on that team.
How much of this experience would you associate with all the injuries you've had?
I don't know.
And he got off the line of scrimmage on the inside. He gets up the field so fast, there's no chance.
It seemed like you played more 3-4 than 4-3 in this game. What was the thinking? Why that was?
We played both. We played both. We played both in every game. We played both today.
Bill, it seems like you have had quite a few negative plays in the running game. Is there something is it just not getting blocked, getting guys blocked? I mean, is that driving you nuts right now?
Negative plays hurt you offensively. They're hard to overcome, whether they're penalties, sacks, or negative plays in the running game. They're hard to overcome. So you try to eliminate every single one of them you can, and that's, the more we do that, the better off we'll be. It doesn't make a difference how they're negative plays. When they're negative, they're hard to, and it's hard to overcome. It's hard to get 10 yards as it is, and you're trying to get 20 and 17 and all that with minus plays in there. It's it's just too much, and we gotta eliminate those plays. Yeah, we had some today. I mean, we ran the ball. We had some good plays, but negative ones are drive stoppers, and that they certainly hurt us.
In some of the four-man fronts, you had Vince on the nose, and then Seymour would move around. Is that just an adjustment to the strength of the offense, or is that to get him a different look? Or
same way we've been running all year. Maybe you saw something different than I did. I don't know. It's the same way we've been playing it. Not really sure what. Not sure what you're referring to, because that's the way we've been playing.
Like he would start out on one guard and then Brett goes.
Well, they shift the tight end. They changed a lot of formation, so sometimes when they adjust, we adjust. I mean, there's a lot of movement going on the offensive side of the ball.
But you said across the board you didn't play well. Was any aspect of your team that played at an acceptable level today?
Be hard pressed to name it at this point. Maybe we'll go back and look at the film and see something that's. But I'd say overall that they did a good job in all three phases of the game, and better than we did. So.
On two of their big passing plays, the Gates play that was challenged and the touchdown by Paul. From your view, did it look like the coverage was there? It was just making the play, or did the coverage not look like
it? Doesn't make any difference. If they make the play, then the coverage isn't good enough. So unless you make the play, then the coverage has got to be better.
So did you make any adjustments to try to generate some pressure? Like you were saying, you were dropping guys in coverage quite a bit, and then the front wasn't there. Did you try to do anything? You had some pressure at the end.
Yeah. I mean, we had plenty of pressure calls that weren't, they blocked them. So, again, I'm not sure exactly what you're looking for there.
Bill, their offensive coordinator and Cameron mix it up well with his play calls today, running the ball and throwing the ball. Can you just maybe talk a little bit about his game plan and its effectiveness against you guys?
Look, they got a good offensive football team. They got a lot of good players. They execute their plays well, and they did today. They can run it. They can throw it. They can beat you with a short game. They can beat you with a deep game. They can run inside. They can run outside. They execute well. They got a good quarterback. So I think it's a combination of all those things. That's a good offensive football team, and they were better than we were today.
It got to the point toward the end, they got the ball 4 minutes ago and 17-point lead. That drive there was kind of indicative of not being able to stop them. You generally knew they would run or expected anyway to run the clock out. You still couldn't get them off the field.
Which drive are you talking about now?
The last scoring drive, I guess, of the game. Mainly got the ball.
Yeah, well, they moved the ball the whole second half. Yeah, we didn't really stop at all in the second half. Every time they got the ball, they drove it and ended up with points.
Were they doing anything differently in the first drive in the second half, or anything to establish control in the second half that was different in terms of adjustments?
Looked like it to me.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Well, are we any more informed than we were when we left the football game with San Diego winning 41-17? And if you're just joining us, that's the case. San Diego just waxed the Patriots today, 41-17, ending their 21-game home winning streak, and it's just something we're totally unaccustomed to. Well, Numi and I need to talk to Ted Johnson a little bit about things that happened out there defensively, and we will when we take a break and come back. And we urge you to vote for player of the game. But you know what? I have no clue, and I would just simply speak for Bob, but he can speak for himself. Who in the world would you vote for player of the game here?
From the Patriots' point of view, you say?
Absolutely.
Maybe David Givens. A bunch of catches in the first half.
Why not?
I don't know.
His 110 yards from last week should carry over to this week. It was that bad. So log on to CBS4.com, click on the player of the game, and obviously your responses will be of interest.
Star Play of the Game is brought to you by Heineken. Heineken, it's all about the beer. Visit enjoyheinekenresponsibly.com. Coach Bill Belichick's postgame news conference is brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' Donuts, bring yourself back.
Guests on New England Ford Patriots fifth quarter receive a gift certificate to Milton's, the store for men. At Milton's, you'll be as comfortable in their stores as you will be in their clothes.
Welcome back to New England Ford Patriots fifth quarter. Brought to you by the New England Ford dealers, home of the best-selling cars and trucks in New England.
Welcome back to fifth quarter as the Red Sox move into the playoffs, which they have this afternoon by virtue of Cleveland losing once again. We're here with the fifth quarter talking about the Patriots with Bob Newmeyer and our experts down in Foxborough. And Numi, it's always easy when you win. You can always talk about the great plays. It's a little tougher to dissect the loss because you're talking about things that did not go right and probably more subtly went wrong behind the scenes.
Well, usually there's one play you look at least with the Patriots, because they've been so dominant over the years, or a penalty or a controversial call. And that's why I think is so numbing and so almost alarming about this loss is the way they were manhandled by the San Diego Chargers. Now, mind you, the Chargers know how to score the football. I mean, last week against the Giants, they were virtually unstoppable in the second half of that game. But people said, yeah, the Giants' defense is lousy. San Diego was hungry. They lost their first two games. They were desperately in need of a win, and they were the hungrier team today. But I think that when Belichick goes over the films, what will be alarming to him was the ease in which the Chargers converted third down opportunities, Bob, particularly to Antonio Gates, the tight end, and he led all receivers last year in third down conversions to first downs. Now, the Patriots knew that going in. I mean, they do their homework. They were powerless to stop it anyway.
Powerless. We have our experts down there. We have Ted Johnson. We have Steve Diassi, you have Scott Zolak, and they're all with Steve Burton. Let's bring in Ted and Steve first. And Ted, preparation, execution. Numi and I have questions. You have, hopefully, some answers.
Well, I tell you what, it was one of the plans, I guarantee you, for the Patriots was to try and stop Antonio Gates. They didn't do that. They had him out in the slot. They had him mismatched against corners. There was miscommunication with the secondary safeties in the corners. They were, both of them were inside. Both of them were outside. It was just too easy. Gates killed them with a lot of formationing. They did a ton of different things in the passing game, a lot of play-action pass, flood the zone, get guys crossing back and forth. The secondary didn't know what to do a lot of times, and it created a lot of problems.
Well, Gates wasn't the only one. Tomlinson was the other one that killed him. But the Patriots, I think, are still trying to figure out what kind of defense they're going to be. You heard Bill Belichick in the press conference saying we've gone 3-4, 4-3 all day, and they've been doing it all year. But what are they?
Well,
are they a 3-4? Are they a 4-3? What are they?
I think he dismissed that and minimized it, really. I mean, it really is more of a problem than what he's leading on. I mean, whenever you go from a 3-4 for most of the drive and then switch to a 4-3 that was happening in the game, you just don't do that. It's just there's not a lot of cohesiveness when you just switch defenses like that. You either major in one or the other typically, but to switch from a 3-4 to a 4-3 in the middle of a drive, they did that a few times today. That says a lot about the Patriots defense, and that there's an identity crisis right now.
And here's something else that says a lot about the defense. 4th and 1 right before the half, on the 50-yard line, mind you, and Belichick goes for it.
Well, I looked at that as a play, a huge play, and what it said to me was that he really was lacking confidence in the defense today, that he really felt that he needed to put more points on the board to get get a cushion. And that's really, I mean,
because you don't normally go for 4th and 1 on midfield.
That's a very risky play with a minute and a half. I mean, the other team, that's field goal range and with 2 first downs. So I thought that was a very revealing play on Belichick's part.
We'd like to bring in Scott Zolak and Steve Diassi. Hopefully they're outside in the field and to get their take. All right, guys, you guys were the experts. You guys predicted a shootout. Yeah, it was a shootout on San Diego's part.
Well, Steve, when we talked about it in the pregame, one of the things we looked at was the yardage on first down by San Diego, and they were getting 7, 8, 9 yards, a lot of first downs on first down plays too. And when you looked at that passing game by San Diego, it almost looked like 7-on-7s. Though he had no pressure whatsoever, his receivers were wide open.
That's what I talked about. It looked like a shadow drill. We used to run these in practice. You do a 2-minute drill. What you do is you tell your defensive backs, we want you to cover, we want you to be in their hip pocket, but do not make a play on the ball. Allow them to catch it, and that's what it looked like the Patriots defensive backs were doing. Now, I don't think there were any busted coverages, true busted coverages today. They had guys in position, but they just got out physical. They got out physical at the line of scrimmage. They got out physical in the secondary. Personnel-wise, they didn't have the guys back there to compete. Now, I'm not saying that Rodney Harrison's one of the best cover safeties in the league, but they definitely missed his leadership. They missed his enthusiasm. They missed him out there barking signals. It was just they said, we're going to try and get pressure with our front four, which they didn't do today. They didn't get pressure with the backers, and Teddy Johnson's played linebacker, and I want to ask him, why in a 3-4 are your linebackers 6 yards off the ball? When I remember Ted playing, he's usually at about 4.5 yards. Now these guys seem like they're 6 yards, Steve.
Trying to go downhill.
Why are you back in the bubble catching people? That's what I don't understand.
It doesn't make sense. And when you talk about that passing game, you're absolutely right when you say that Drew Brees had all the time in the world, but there were a lot of times he didn't need that time. He only used 3 or 4 seconds in the pocket, and he had receivers still open by 4 or 5 yards. But there had to be some better linebacker play. Willie McGinnis played okay today, but other than that, the linebackers really didn't distinguish themselves today.
You talk about shootouts, too. Brady had 203 yards at the half, so in essence, they weren't a shootout. Things were pretty much even at the half, but it's very rare that you see a New England team go into that locker room and come out and not be firing on all cylinders. Usually, it's Belichick and crew that make the adjustments, make the key moves to get their team going, and then the third quarter, they get steamrolling. That didn't happen today. Flip side, and this is the first time I've seen this team that physically tired, worn out late in the game.
And Steve and Teddy, you guys have seen this. You haven't seen this before here in Foxborough like this. This was just a bad effort defensively.
I mean, you knew it was bad when Adam Vinatieri's missing a 37-yard field goal on a beautiful day like this with no wind, and it's warm. It's not even cool out. I mean, that was a sign of things to come.
Absolutely right, guys. Just a tough loss all the way around.
All right, guys, thank you very much. Diassi and Zoe brought up linebackers playing 6 yards off the ball. What's that all about?
Well, my rule was hit them before they can hit you, so I would line up a little closer. When they're running the ball like they are, and they ran a lot of plays, angle blocks, a lot of plays, ace ices, where they'd isolate the middle linebackers, and you line up that far off the ball, you create natural seams, and LT, he'll exploit you. So that's not a smart play to do that. You really need to get up there and create a wall and really force them to go outside.
What about this Turner play?
Well, there's a play in the third quarter. Michael Turner came in for LaDainian Thompson, and I thought this play right here, to me, showed you what San Diego wanted to do the Patriots all day. It was just a smash mouth, physical, whose will is stronger. And I thought this one play said the whole thing right here. I mean, I thought this set the tone.
That's just heart and guts right there. That's just wanting it more. 8 guys had a shot at this guy,
absolutely,
and he's still keeping his feet going.
And that's, that will demoralize a defense when a guy has a run like that. And there was fights going on early in the play. I mean, this was a physical game, and they ripped their hearts out on that play.
We are waiting for Patriot quarterback Tom Brady to come out. In the meantime, we'll go back to Bob LaBelle and Bob Newmeyer. Guys?
All right, we're not done with you guys yet. I have to ask, when you can't stop the run and you can't run the ball yourselves, we've learned that is a deadly combination for the team that is in that position. You can't stop the run and you can't yourself run. But the offense certainly had a responsibility to give the defense a blow once in a while in the second half, and the defense was on the field for much of that second half, Ted.
They were on there too much. I mean, they couldn't get off the field on third down. They had opportunities to get off the field on third down, and they weren't able to do that. But I mean, they were running, 4, 5, 6, 7 yards a clip on first down running the football. You cannot do that. All that does is set up your play action game, and Drew Brees had it was just too easy. The play action game was just killing them, and they just kept moving the chains. And our defense looked tired. The first time I've seen them look like that in a long time.
Well, and I brought this up earlier in the show. I don't think San Diego had a punt in the second half, and when the defense is on the field the whole time, they're dragging.
You want to know where the pass rush was?
Yeah, where was it? That was it, right?
It was. I mean, we're batting down balls. It's 2 steps, put your hands up, and try and bat the ball down. I mean, those boys were tired. And a lot of it's because they were just physically running over them, and then they had nothing for the pass rush.
All right, so Belichick comes out here, he takes the podium, and he's pretty stale when he's talking to the media. But behind closed doors, what is he telling that football team? He is very direct about where his team is right now. He believes that your record, you are what you are. And right now he does not think that they're good enough to win at this point. And so they are going to go back to the drawing board. They're going to start this thing over. They're going to put a lot of pressure on guys to perform. You'll see some new faces out there next week in the starting lineup. And where do you think is the biggest area they have to fix? The secondary? Well, I think the secondary is obviously one. I think the offensive line is going to be another issue. I think they need to figure out what they want to major in, a 4-3, a 3-4. It's just too confusing. I think guys need to know where they stand. Bob LaBelle, we stand back with you.
All right, thanks. Quick comment from Newman before we take a break.
Well, I'm just thinking about last year and the game in Pittsburgh, Bob, which really was the last regular season game the Patriots were manhandled like they were today. And at that time, my memory as a talk show host was that it was all gloom and doom. The sky was falling, and it was the end of the world as we know it. And that put pressure on the team for their next game in St. Louis. And they beat the Rams 16 ways to Sunday, and that score was 40-22. It was a dominating effort by the Patriots. Well, this week, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be the sky is falling. It's going to be gloom and doom. It's going to be the end of the world as we know it. And it's another NFC challenge next week at Atlanta with Michael Vick. He does not own the same kind of passing game that Drew Brees has. He, of course, brings other problems, namely the best running quarterback and maybe the best athlete in football, but another good tight end, an Algie Crumpler. So it's going to be interesting to see how the lads respond next Sunday against the Falcons.
Okay, and we'll see what you think as far as player of the game goes. So log on to CBS4.com and vote for player of the game. Make that CBS4Boston.com. Click on player of the game, and we'll get your vote, and we'll collect them and give you the results just before we sign off and deal with the Red Sox moving into the playoffs a little later on. We'll be right back.
We're going to need to play better. We got a tough challenge against Atlanta. We're going to need to improve in a short amount of time. Try to really tighten up some of the mistakes and play a much more competitive game than the one we played today.
Tom, with the running game, is it the defensive schemes and what they're running to try and load up against Corey? Is it the offensive line having a breakdown here or there? Or is it Corey?
Well, I think it all goes hand in hand offensively. I think we got to throw the ball better and we got to run the ball better, and we got to be more efficient in both. And anytime we can throw it better, the running game's going to look better, and we're just not really executing at the level that I think we need to be at. So, like I said, it's the 4th game of the year, and we're still trying to make improvements, and hopefully we do. But the only way that we can make improvements is to go out there and practice every day and work hard. And we got another game next Sunday, so we're going to try to be as prepared for that as we can be.
Any way to assess the injuries, the effect of the injuries on the offense?
Well, I don't think about the injuries at all. I mean, we got plenty of capable players out there, guys who have proven a lot of things, and you got to play with the guys you got. And we got some very capable players. This game comes down to execution, and we sit up here and we talk after wins about it, and the losses, it's the same thing. We just didn't play well today.
Tom, can you talk about the ability of the players in your locker room to handle adversity and be able to know what to do to get the consistency back?
Well, we just got to go play better. I mean, we got to play better. I mean, it comes down to execution. It's not about rah-rah speeches, and it's not about what you did last year, or it's about what you're going to do next week. So, we look at the final score today, 41-17, and it was 17-17 at half, and it just showed they really outplayed us there in the second half. And we'll see the film tomorrow, and we'll evaluate why we made the mistakes, and hopefully we try to correct them.
Tom, while you were out there today, you mentioned you came out in the second half, and it was 17-17 going into the second half.
Yeah.
What adjustments did they make? I mean, because you guys got off to such a fast start, answering everything they threw at you.
Well, we just didn't convert on third down. We couldn't stay on the field offensively, and they made some plays offensively to really, stay on the field on third down. We didn't have the ball enough, mostly due to the offense's inefficiency. So, We got to do a better job of helping the defense out, and when they score, we got to try to answer, and we didn't really answer today like we have in the wins this year. So we got to have a good attitude and come out and practice hard this week and see what we got next week.
It seemed like they got a lot of pressure on you today, but Pittsburgh got pressure on you a lot, at least early last week. But this week it seemed like you only had short routes available to throw with how quick they were getting to you. How was what they did, just in layman's terms, different from what Pittsburgh was trying to do last week?
Well, it's a different scheme, and they run different schemes, and they have different pressures, and at times they got to us today, and at times they didn't get to us. So they had a few plays where they rushed us. I think we still need to throw and catch the ball better. I think everybody's got to do the part, and everybody sits in the locker room after the game, and I think we all look at ourselves and think of the things that we can all do better to help this team win. Because if we go on and play like this next week, we're going to get beat again, just like we did in Carolina. And it's a lot of little things. It's a lot of little things that we need to improve on, and you can't have you need 11 guys doing the right thing on each and every play, or else you're not going to be very consistent. And I just think there's just too many little breakdowns that we got to really improve on.
You've won 21 straight games coming into today in the stadium. Is this the worst it's been here in Gillette?
Well, we never like to play poorly like this. And then when you play well at home, play poorly, you lose. And I guess we haven't done that a whole lot. So you still got to go out and play well no matter where you play. And we played in a tough environment last week and played well. I thought the fans were really into it today. It helped us out a lot. We just didn't really live up to our end of the bargain there.
Did you sense it coming at all during the week? I mean, you played so well at the end of last week. I would think that you probably didn't sense having this kind of a performance, and you played well in the first half, mostly.
Yeah, it was 17-17 in the first half, and we just came out in the second half, and we just couldn't get anything going. And they made some big plays on offense. I mean, they had a big touchdown there. They got the pass interference or the completion down to the 1-yard line, and I thought, their offense played really well today, and our offense didn't play well enough. And when you play very good offenses, we need to play well, and we just didn't really match their level of play.
Hey Tom, what happened right before the half? You had first and goal, and a number of pass plays weren't completed.
Yeah.
Seems like you had a couple guys in the same area, guys running the wrong routes. What happened there?
Oh, we just. Just execution. I mean, they were blitzing us down there. We tried to pick it up and try to find the open guy. Just didn't connect. So we tried 3 straight times, and it was frustrating for us coming at half and the 6-yard line, first going to 6 and not getting it in. And we haven't, I don't think, been as good in the red zone as we would have liked this year. And you look at a little series like that could have gave us some extra momentum going in, and we just kind of typified the day, actually.
So you're the quarterback. How do you pick the team back up?
Well, I mean, you go back to work. You go back to work. There's 12 games left, and no game is more important than the one we got coming up this week. We're going to go out to practice this week, get back to work tomorrow, and like I said, try to go out and correct our mistakes, because it's not going to get any easier. And like I said, you play good teams and you play poorly, you lose. And I think that's what happened today. San Diego played the game very as well as they could have, and we didn't. And you look back at the end, and 41-17, it's not very pretty.
After all your success as a team, and you get a couple of knocks like this, do you think about your leadership role? Does it change at all? Or does it, do you try to think about ways to pick guys up, or do you think you have to?
Well, I just think we all look at each other, and like I said, I think this game comes down to how well you play each and every time you take the field for a game, and that starts with practicing better. So we're going to need to practice better and go out and execute better in practice so it can carry over. And I don't think it's as much about, like I said, rah-rah speeches and pulling team meetings and stuff like that. I mean, we have guys who are capable. We have a veteran team. We just got to play better.
Tom, obviously Atlanta's a pressure defense next week. How important is it for you guys to get your running game in sync to take some of that pressure off of you guys in the passing game?
Well, I think that's something we've been trying to fight for all year. The more balance you can have running the ball, hopefully the better you'll be passing the ball and vice versa. So you hate to rely too much on one phase of the game, one area. I mean, your passing game, if you're throwing the ball, too much, it puts too much pressure on the offensive line, and you don't really control the clock. I think we got down 2 scores there at the end, and trying to throw the ball. It's just like I said, it's going to be important for us to get the running game going.
in the box and line down as their offense is driving downfield. I mean, are you getting antsy there towards the end there, trying to get back on the field? Or?
Trying to get, yeah, of course. I mean, just trying to get the ball back and try to go down and score. And a lot of that's due to what our offensive problems were today, and not going out and staying on the field. Like I said, you play against a good offense, you just can't leave your defense out to dry like we did. And we got to go out and play better and pick those guys up and try to really improve.
Final question.
Was the pressure you felt today at all a product of having two rookies on the left side of the offensive line?
I think those guys are working hard and they're trying hard and they're improving. And it's tough for those guys to come in there sometimes, but they're good players and they're going to be very good players. Logan's been in there for a while. Kaiser's in there for his first start, and that's the way it's going to be. So, like I said, we'll see the film tomorrow and ask Coach Belichick about that one. Thanks, guys.
Okay, 41-17 is the final tally. Bob Newmeyer and I will be right back. You get a chance to log on for Player of the Game, CBS4, Boston.com, Player of the Game. We'll come back with the overall highlights and a couple of things that Brady was referencing, including the interference call on Eugene Wilson and that series in the red zone where they went 4 and out and had to settle for a field goal.
Welcome back to New England Ford Patriots Fifth Quarter. Brought to you by the New England Ford dealers, home of the best-selling cars and trucks in New England.
Okay, fifth quarter here on CBS 4. Patriots lose 41-17. Newmy and I are here to learn what you want to learn. Same thing. So let's go back down to Steve Burton, Ted Johnson, and we'll bring in Zolak and Diassi eventually.
All right, Bob, thank you very much. And joining us now, along with Patriot linebacker, or former Patriot linebacker Ted Johnson, is Patriot linebacker Chad Brown. And, well, you can ask the first question. You got him out here.
Well, I just saw my boy in the locker room, and I just I've been in this position. I know how this game feels. How you feeling right now, physically and emotionally? Just how you feel?
Physically, I think I came out pretty good, but emotionally, it's obviously a tough loss, and it was a bad day at the office. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Is there a sense of like identity kind of crisis? I don't know. Are we majoring in, the Patriots majoring in 4-3, 3-4? Is it just switching in and out? I mean, how's that going?
I think Coach Belichick is going to try to find, whichever scheme that they can't block, basically, and whichever gives us the best success. So whether it's 4-3 or 3-4, we've got to be prepared and do a better job out there than we did today.
You're going into the game. You got to stop Tomlinson. You got to stop Gates. What happened?
Those guys are very, very, very good, and
but so are you guys.
Everyone tries to stop them, and most people are not successful. And we came out on the short end of the stick today. We obviously focus on those guys during the week of practice, but they were able, with individual play and also by scheme to get themselves open and make plays.
From a scheme perspective, it seemed like a lot of whams, a lot of ace ices, a lot of just kind of angle blocks, just to create some seams. Was I seeing that right? Is that the case?
Well, they were trying to stretch us out, put our outside linebackers out pretty wide, and kind of widen the field and widen the gaps, and then let him cut back. Mm-hmm. Most of the times, one-on-one in the hole with a linebacker, he's going to win. He's tough to bring down. If the hole is narrow, you got a shot, but if it's a wide hole, he can make plays. He certainly made me miss a few times.
Especially when you got a 300-pounder laying on you, trying to push it. I mean, you got blockers on you, and you're still trying to disengage and make plays. I mean, that's hard to do.
It's definitely hard to do, and even sometimes when you're unblocked, trying to stop him in a wide open hole is tough.
People also want to know why Drew Brees had so much time to throw the football. Normally, you guys put a lot of pressure on quarterbacks, and I don't think he was sacked once today.
I think a little bit it was we were paying a lot of attention to the running game, and also we had a difficult time getting them into predictable situations. Mm-hmm. 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 12, where you can, unleash your blitzers. If it's 3rd and 4, you really can't call the blitz, given the success they've been having in the running game. So they put us in a tough spot, for players on the field and also for our coordinators and our coaches to call plays.
Well, all right.
Hey,
good luck next week.
Yeah, next week, tomorrow's a new day. The sun will come out, and the Patriots will be ready to play next Sunday.
And the Red Sox in the playoffs.
Exactly.
He doesn't care about that.
Well, he may.
He's on the West Coast. All right, thanks,
Chad.
buddy. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on. I guess we're going to go out to Scott Zolak and Steve Diassi. If you're out there. I guess we're not. We're going to go back to Bob Lobel. Bob, it's all yours.
I didn't veto that. We're just innocent bystanders here, Newmy and I. We did not veto that, but we will when we come back, okay? We'll move along, and we will when we come back. Chad Brown, very interesting conversation. Okay, log on to CBS4. I'm not going to say it anymore. You know what the deal.
Vote.
Vote. Early enough.
Use your imagination.
It'll take some.
No Dunkin' Donuts Dash for daylight today. The Patriots did not return a punt or kickoff for a touchdown today, meaning Bob Avila of Shrewsbury doesn't win the trip to see the Pats play the Jets, but will still receive a Dunkin' Donuts gift pack. Log on to UPN38.com to find out how you can enter next week's Dunkin' Donuts Dash for daylight. Welcome back to New England Ford Patriots fifth quarter. Brought to you by the New England Ford dealers, home of the best-selling cars and trucks in New England.
It's a shot down in Foxborough at 60 Minutes is doing a piece with Tom Brady following the game. Steve Crofts is in to do the interview. I know that they had Brady's sisters were up in the CBS 4 box, along with Brady's father today, being interviewed by Crofts, and there it is. That piece on 60 Minutes will be aired hopefully sometime in November. Sorry about Bob Avila, or Bobby Avila, as the case may be. He didn't win that trip. He didn't win the trip to Hawaii. He didn't win the new SUV. He just gets the Dunkin' Donuts pack. But you know,
it's not the guy that builds houses, is it? Bob Avila, or isn't the guy that does the the whole home handyman stuff?
No. That's Bob Vila, not Avila.
Yeah, Avila.
Well, close. It's all right. You're right.
Close.
Close. This old house. Yeah. This old.
I wouldn't know. I can't screw in a light bulb.
That's right. Well, this old. Just hold the ladder.
You need to watch that show.
Just hold the ladder. All right. How many Noomies does it take to screw in a light? Steve Diassi, Scott Zolak. Gentlemen, about your respective areas of the game. First, Mr. Diassi.
How many Noomies first? 5?
How many Noomies? 3, 4. Let's talk quickly, and then you can go off on your defense, Steve Diassi, about that interference call on Eugene Wilson, which Ted Johnson referenced in the game.
Well, when you look at the call, you could go either way on that call, but the atmosphere in the NFL right now is anything close they're going to give to the offense. They know in any given situation, the offense is going to get the benefit of the doubt because they're looking at points on the board. That's what the NFL is all about. Whether it was a close call or not, it really didn't make much of a difference. He turned his head at the last second, but again, it's a call that goes because the NFL officials have been told by the NFL offices, you've got to make this call in favor of the offense. Any type of contact whatsoever. Had he turned back a fraction of a second beforehand, it might have been a good call. But the big problem here wasn't with one call or another defensively, whether it was a good call or bad call. The problem that you had with the New England Patriots defense is that you don't have playmakers out there. How many times have we looked to this team, to two guys, to make the big plays for this defense? Teddy Bruschi and Rodney Harrison for the last couple of years have been the big playmakers on this team. And if you look at what went on with the defense today, there was absolutely no big plays being made. That's where they're going to miss guys like Rodney Harrison and Teddy Bruschi, and that's a tough sign for a defense that thrives on big plays.
Plus, it's 2 weeks in a row where you saw an underthrown ball. Roethlisberger did it last week in Pittsburgh. Both calls went against New England, and that's the way they're going to call it this year. You have to get used to it. So you got to get square. Even if the ball's underthrown like it was in both cases, you got to make a play on the football, and Wilson didn't make a good enough play on it.
That's right.
Talk about veterans, Steve, and so, you talked about Rodney Harrison. You mentioned Bruschi, but don't forget Ty Law and Ted Johnson. These were veteran leaders on their defense. So you take two, they were big play guys, but the other guys also stepped up, although Law wasn't here much of last season because of injury.
You're absolutely right. All four of those guys were guys that, well, except for Ty Law, we got Ted Johnson, Teddy Bruschi, and Rodney Harrison. Those guys are usually in the middle of the field and can see more than, say, a cornerback or a defensive end or maybe even an outside linebacker. They're more inclined to make that call and to make the check defensively or to alert other guys up and down the line of what they're seeing because they have a better angle, a better view of it. And you're absolutely right. You can't lose that many guys and that kind of leadership and that kind of decision-making and not be effective.
Well, you're talking about the three guys you mentioned. You think about it, Bruschi, Johnson, and then you got Rodney Harrison. All three are very involved in running game, and you saw what happened today with LaDainian Tomlinson out there today. I mean, this guy was running at will, then all of a sudden you get the big fullback going. He gets on the outside. I think there was one time where 8 guys had a chance to make a play, didn't make the play. I mean, you've never seen a defense like this get a handed to them that before, but you look at the offensive side of things, and you talk about not making adjustments at the half. Ben Watson has one huge catch. All of a sudden, it's one huge catch a game in the first half at some time that we never hear from the guy again. I question if Charlie Weiss was here, and I hate to bring it up because he's not. How many touches do you think Ben Watson would get in that offense?
Hold on, game 4, and we have the official Charlie Weiss watch.
The Notre Dame films from this weekend. I mean, Brady Quinn throws for 410 yards. This kid's going to have a pro career now because of Charlie Weiss. But you got to wonder, Antonio Gates, and I'm not that high on Antonio Gates. He's not the best 10. I'd take Ben Watson as an athlete, as a pure pass catcher.
Take Tony Gonzalez over him?
As a blocker over him any day of the week. So there's no way Antonio Gates should get more touches in the game than Ben Watson. It just confuses the heck out of me.
Ben Watson's like the John Olerud of the Patriots. You don't even know he's on the team sometimes. The question is, this highly touted, Daniel Graham, Ben Watson, they were going to be loaded at tight end, which would have freed everybody else up. But you make a very good point, so. Where are these guys?
Well, it's also not like you can sit there and just load up on the tight ends because you've got very talented receivers in Givens and Branch, and of course Corey Dillon in the backfield. So I guarantee it's not a situation where they're double covering both of these tight ends. It's physically impossible to do that. You've got to find a way to get these guys involved in the game plan one way or the other, and I'm sure that will be on the agenda this week.
What's wrong with putting Christian Fourier in the red zone? I mean, this guy's. You talk about Brady having go-to guys. Obviously, Troy Brown is every once in a while on the third down. But Fourier inside the red zone, excuse me, that's where he does his
knows
best
how to
work.
get open.
Get him down there. And then, there were some questionable play calls down there. I mean, you got to look at it. First and goal, down inside the 10-yard line. You're dealing with the clock. You're dealing with a shrunken field. You can't get tackled inbounds. You got to take shots to the end zone. And that's the thing right here. You look at Brady. He's looking left. People don't understand how quick things happen down here inside the red zone. The margin of error is so minute. You don't have time to make any mistake. He's really got to hit his last step and throw. He's trying to get the ball up high in the back corner there. Givens has made a ton of catches like that in the past. He rifled the first one on the left flat. And here's another deflection. Deion Branch almost makes a great catch in the back of the back corner right there. But I mean, you talk about teams. The team today where they were not getting their bounces. And I hate to bring luck into a game. I think luck, you could throw it out, but the ball was not bouncing their way today. Just things were not going their way, and we're starting to see it a little bit here. There's 2 losses.
And what makes it so hard down in that red zone, especially when you're on around the 8 or 9 yard line, the defense knows they only have 20 yards of field to cover. That makes it twice as hard when you talk. There's no deep threat. They can plant themselves across the goal line or a few yards deep in the goal line and make sure that you don't have a chance to complete that.
It's a huge misconception. I think the defense has an advantage inside the 10-yard line as opposed to an offense that's really bearing down on all bearings.
All right, you guys, good job. Thank you very much. Way to go. We do know this. The Red Sox are going to play the White Sox 4 o'clock on Tuesday in Chicago, and then again in Chicago on Wednesday. They'll take Thursday off and come back Friday and Saturday here in Boston, and Sunday back in Chicago if it's all necessary. And the Yankees are going out to Anaheim and Newmy.
Well, I've heard a lot of what I would call knee-jerk reaction from a lot of people about this game, Bob, particularly the defense. I think we really need to see more. First game against the Oakland Raiders, first drive, the Raiders ran it down their throats and scored, and nothing happened after that. They played excellent defense against Carolina. They played excellent defense last week against Pittsburgh, without Rodney Harrison, I might add.
We got to go to Burton.
It's one game.
I got an emergency. Go to Burton. That's what I'm told.
Okay.
Steve, go right ahead.
I wouldn't say it's an emergency.
Well, as I said, he said, please go to Burton. So I go to Burton. Anytime they have to interrupt Newmy for anything, it's got to be an emergency.
I didn't know it was that much. I had that much power. But you guys were talking about the tight ends. You want to know why Ben Watson only had 1 catch and the other guys didn't have any? They were blocking. And why were they blocking, Ted Johnson?
We had a young offensive line and especially a young offensive tackle who needed help. So a lot
Kuskar,
of
right?
Kuskar, he needed some help. They were getting some pressure on the perimeter, and so they kept tight ends all day to help him.
They had to
block
keep him
those
on
guys.
the offensive line.
They did.
Brady protection.
And it's too bad because Christian Fourier is a heck of a receiving tight end. He shouldn't be blocking as much as he is.
Ben Watson's a stud.
He's a stud. Put him out in the slide. Let him stretch the field with Danny Graham. You got something. But right now, a young offensive line, they need to max protect a little bit more and help Brady.
And Belichick won't admit all that, but when you do have a young tackle in there, they got to make up somewhere along that offensive line. And they're going to have to make up in the secondary as well, because there's some holes in that secondary.
They got to simplify it a little bit. There was, the Chargers, I'm telling you, they just put so many guys into one zone, and guys were confused, and the miscommunication killed them. So they're going to have to simplify their schemes.
All right, well, that's the story here. No emergency. Let's go back to Bob.
Okay, well, that's it. You okay with that? Huh? No, that's not the right answer. That was not the.
Hey, I've been interrupted before. I'll be interrupted again.
Are you okay with that? That was not the right answer. But it's going to have to do until we come back. And I promise you, we will not interrupt you.
I will restate my point.
That's exactly what I would like to hear. We'll be back. Who are you going to vote for player of the game?
Welcome back to New England Ford Patriots Fifth Quarter. Brought to you by the New England Ford dealers, home of the best-selling cars and trucks in New England.
Upcoming schedule.
Michael Vick, get ready.
Doesn't get any easier. And then the Broncos, who put all the pundits to bed today by beating Jacksonville soundly after everyone said, oh, they loaded up on Jacksonville today. And so who knows? Apparently not many. We would have thought the Indians would have lost 3 in a row to the White Sox in Cleveland after the White Sox had nothing to play for, so to speak.
Maybe a good thing the Pats are playing in a division with Buffalo, the Jets, and Miami, eh, Bob?
I think
hardly the strength of the National Football League right now.
You know what's really this? I'll show you how far we've come. There used to be a time when you'd look at the division and say, if we could just get in the playoffs by winning the division. But now it was all about getting the home field and playing Indianapolis here, Pittsburgh here. That was the new orientation. Now we're back to the old orientation. Well, let's win the division and worry about everything else. I mean, it's kind of fascinating how we just kind of readjust our expectations.
Well, you're 2-2, you know, and it's a long season, and things will change. And who knows that 4, 5, or 6 weeks from now, they may be in the driver's seat at 6-2, and we'll look back at this day and say, you know, what was all this gnashing of teeth? My only point was that the defense played well against the Oakland Raiders. They played well against the Carolina Panthers. They played well against the Pittsburgh Steelers in the second half without Rodney Harrison. They did not play well today. So I think before we just throw up our hands and say, you know, we missed this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy's a bum and they need to bring in this guy, you know, you need to see a little more evidence, Bob, than just one thrashing at the hands of a very good San Diego Charger team that has some significant weapons in Antonio Gates and LaDainian Tomlinson, and they lucked out with Drew Brees. If you don't know the story, the Chargers went to great lengths to draft Eli Manning, and Eli wouldn't play for the Chargers. They didn't want to use Drew Brees. He was the rookie guy from Purdue in the second round that was lousy as a rookie. They wanted to draft Eli Manning. Eli wouldn't go to San Diego for whatever reason. They wound up drafting a guy named Phillip Rivers, who hasn't gone off the bench yet. And out of nowhere, Brees, Bob, plays Pro Bowl quarterback last year. And now Phillip Rivers is collecting, you know, on the bench. He's got a huge signing bonus. He's got splinters coming out of his backside. He's a wonderful trading chip for San Diego because he's a highly touted quarterback. They lucked into Drew Brees. They wanted to get rid of the guy. And now he, you know, the way he played today, he's one of the top, what, 6, 7 quarterbacks in football?
He was at Fenway yesterday up in the Green Monster. Actually, he was there with Flutie and other members of the Chargers, believe it or not, because they played together. And Flutie obviously did a lot to bring Drew Brees along. And Flutie was there until they had somebody, whether it's Eli Manning or Brees or whatever, to come in. But he was fantastic.
I mean, sometimes the best laid plans are the ones that just, you know, that go awry, and you wind up falling into a player like Drew Brees.
Or Tom Brady.
Yeah, same idea.
Tom Brady.
Or Ben Roethlisberger in Pittsburgh. If Tommy Maddox doesn't get hurt, Ben Roethlisberger doesn't play.
Bledsoe doesn't get hurt, Brady doesn't play. All right. But when's Olerud's time? I'm sorry, we're just beating that drum to death. All right, let's go to the highlights. We're going to do this, and we're going to continue in the 5th quarter, and then we're going to swing into Red Sox mode because They have some big games coming up this week, but here it was. Newmy Chargers' second possession.
All right, when you hear the word slasher about a running back, LaDainian Tomlinson's picture should be next to the word. This guy is a slasher.
That was 9 more. The first one was 10. This is 9 more. Chargers field goal. That's what they'd get out of that. And the Patriots now with the drive. And Brady, well, you know what? Tough catch. They make it look easy. They look like they're in sync.
That was a 3rd and 10 play, and everybody knew that Brady could throw the ball against the Chargers. They're porous defensively, particularly in the secondary. Good linebackers. But that was a big play there. But this was another one, kind of a nifty little setup here. They flashed 2 receivers right. That set up Dwight in the middle of the zone, and that's a first down.
And then a little screen pass to Corey Dillon. Big yardage here, 23 yards.
Who runs better screen plays in the NFL than New England? Find me a team. Boy, every one they run seems to work. This is really well set up. Neal out in front, and this was a huge game that set them up in good shape.
And it didn't take long before Dillon to go in and get the touchdown and put the Patriots ahead 7-3 in that one. Second quarter, Teddy Bruschi on the sidelines, taking it all in. Rumors abounding that he may try to return this year. Breeze looking to pass. Eric Parker.
Yeah, the thing that's a little upsetting, too, is this is not a premier wide receiving crew. As good as Gates is, as good as Tomlinson is, I don't think they're wide receivers, and there is Gates there, and he's out of your favorite school, Kent State, Bob. Basketball player extraordinaire, and probably the best tight end in football. Sorry, Zolak, but I think he is. Him and Tony Gonzalez.
Golden flashes. That's it. KSU.
There's the slasher again. This guy, last year a lot of people thought he played hurt, Tomlinson. Didn't have a premier year. Looks very healthy and very dangerous this year.
You know, lest we remind you, they were 12-4 last year. So that was Dwayne Starks' first beating today. 10-7, the Chargers, and you can see the replay. I mean, there wasn't even a shadow.
I mean, again, McCardell is a veteran receiver, but he was like a street free agent. They signed in mid-season. So this is not a premier receiving crew by any stretch.
Bethel Johnson fumbles the football. Patriots fortunate there to even get it back after a 57-yard return.
This is a happy guy, Dwight, who used to play for the Chargers. This is simply an up pattern. He just sprints. This guy can fly, and he tap danced past Sammy Davis. Get it?
I got it.
Touchdown Patriots.
Good. It was a good alliteration, actually. And at that point, you thought the Patriots are pretty much in control of this game. If only their defense could stop them, but no way. Jose, Eugene Wilson, flagged for interference.
Hey, in defense of Wilson, this is a tough play. It's an underthrown ball. Wilson's got pretty good position on the guy. They threw the flag. Now the Chargers set up deep in Pat's territory, and his LT again, not Lawrence Taylor, but LaDainian Tomlinson, best back in the NFL.
17-14, Patriots get a late field goal, tied at 17 and a half, and then the Patriots just shut down the second half. This was all San Diego.
Well, again, third down, Breeze to Gates. I'll repeat my point earlier. This guy led the league in third down catches that were for first downs last year in the entire league.
11 yards up the middle for LaDainian. Chargers kept the Pats on their heels. Keep in mind, they played Sunday night against the Giants and had to fly cross country to play this game in Foxborough. No small task, but here you go.
There's Gates again. This is 38 yards, and this set up another Tomlinson touchdown that made it 24-17, and this is where the Chargers put the Patriots away by scoring, what was it, 24 unanswered second half points, and really turning what was a close, very entertaining, up and down the field game into a blowout.
Uncle Turner in the backfield, and he gets the...
Well, Drew Brees had himself a day.
Here's a play, Bob.
Yeah,
Michael, this is one that I know that
Turner.
Diossi talked about, Teddy Johnson talked about it. The guy just, they seemed like they wanted it more. They were hungrier. And there was a great run there by Turner, breaking several tackles.
Right, and Caldwell is there.
Starks again, 23. Tough day at the office for him. Again, this is Rashae Caldwell, hardly a household name in the NFL. Third receiver on their depth chart. He beat Starks 31-17, but it would get worse.
It sure would. Fourth quarter, San Diego just grinds it down. Short pass to Tomlinson. 21-yard game, face mask penalty. The Chargers had a field goal and a late interception. Castle, throw it up. Interesting he didn't put Flutie in against his former team. I thought that was, well, I don't know what I thought that was, but I'm sure that Flutie would have. Doesn't really matter, did it?
Game, set, match, Chargers. That's a huge win for San Diego. They started the season really in the soup at 0-2. Forlorn Pats fan. Is that tears?
I don't know. I just
21 wins and finally a loss. You knew it would happen someday, but I don't think even the widest-eyed Charger optimists thought they could come in here and blow New England's doors away, as they proved to in this ball game today. But they were the hungrier team, and perhaps the Pats might have been a little headstrong following their win against Pittsburgh last week coming home. But the Chargers, again, they beat them every which way but loose, Bob, and they ran it, they threw it. They could not stop them on third down after third down after third down, and they certainly deserved the W.
Okay, we're going to take a break. We'll be back. Fill you in on the Sox as we come up and wrap things up here in the fifth quarter. Find out who you picked as player of the game. We're as curious as you might be when we come right back.
Welcome back to New England Ford Patriots Fifth Quarter. Brought to you by the New England Ford dealers, home of the best-selling cars and trucks in New England.
Bob Newmeyer, Bob Lobel, and Steve Burton down in Foxborough. Stephen?
Down in Foxborough with Ted Johnson. Here we are. And we're looking at the final stats here. Deion Branch, 1 catch for 6 yards. He's a go-to guy. They went to him 1 time.
You know what a difference a week makes.
Yeah.
I don't know why you don't go to him more. Obviously, D. Givens should be getting the ball more, and he did. He had a great first half. I don't know where they went in the second half with him, but Deion Branch should be a go-to guy. And you know what? There was a lot of third downs that Tom just they couldn't hit him. And there was some tough throws that he had to make, but they just weren't connecting. So, tough game.
You wanted to bring up this Wham situation. I thought you were a little technical there. People have no idea what you're talking about. But
there's the Chargers were trying to exploit the inside linebackers for the Patriots a little bit and isolate them. There's a play, the very difficult play to stop called the Wham play, and Steve made mention of how funny that name sounds, but that's what we call it. It's really a play to isolate the middle linebackers, and they just shoved that play down our throat. It really creates seams
so the
in
back
the
can scoot
defense.
Through them, right?
And the back can just find a hole. It's just a huge hole, and it's all predicated on the tight end blocking the nose and the fullback leading up through on the linebackers. So
and they call it a Wham play because what? They just run it down your throat?
It's just a nasty play. It's been around since the beginning of time, and it's a very difficult play to stop in a 3-4. And we were in the 3-4 in this drive. And on this play, I mean, he just willed his way in there, but that, again, was a Wham play. They wanted to get a lot of angles, isolate the linebackers with A-size plays, which are direct lead plays, and really put a lot of pressure on those guys.
A few years ago, you played San Diego. You got beat by San Diego. Okay?
Big time.
And sent your team, you finished, what, 9-7 that year?
9-7 that year.
You finished 9-7 that year. This year, the Patriots get beat by a huge margin. Will this send this team into a tailspin? What direction will this team go?
Well, history shows that they'll rebound, but that 2002 season, after that loss, it really, I thought, exploited a lot of our weaknesses and really shook our confidence. We weren't real comfortable being defending champs. We didn't know how to be defending champs. We just, had won the Super Bowl. So the Patriots really need to dig down and find out what they're about and see how much resiliency they had. Because the rest of the season, every game's so important. This isn't like baseball. This is every game is very, very, very important. So how they handle adversity is going to be key this next week.
Because there's only 16 in the regular season, and then you got the playoffs, and hopefully the Patriots will be there. Rodney Harrison was the quarterback of the Patriots secondary. Without Rodney Harrison, the secondary looks completely lost. Who steps up to become the quarterback in that secondary now?
That's an interesting call because, Eugene Wilson, God bless him, he's a third-year player, but he still kind of relied on, Rodney for his calls. And so that's a role that Eugene probably doesn't feel real comfortable in. Tyrone Poole's not out there. You got Dwayne Starks, who's new out there. You just have a lot of new guys out there that there is really no voice of reason in the flag carrier, and that's a difficult situation to have. So that's going to be problematic. Like I said before, you got to simplify the defense and really don't put too much on them as far as communicating. because the more opportunities to mess it up.
There weren't a whole lot of positives from this game, but Willie McGinnis played well on defense. On offense, I thought Tim Dwight had a pretty good day.
Tim Dwight did a nice job. There's a nice play at Tim. Tom hit him on a nice bomb there where it was one-on-one against the corner. And if you don't have safety help over the top, and Tim didn't, Tim was one-on-one on this corner. Tom knew it.
Nice catch.
If it's a foot race,
he's going to win it.
He's going to win it. He's that state champ 4 times in a row out of Iowa. I mean, he's a fast guy. So,
this is Dwight against his former team. He's happy about this kid.
He's thrilled. He had a lot of people in town for this game, and you know what? He is just a workhorse, and he's happy to be here. So I was happy for Tim because he's just a guy that has got a lot of energy and great enthusiasm, and that was a big play.
What you saw Brady do in the first half, and I give Tom Brady a lot of credit for this because he was able to elude the rush. One time he ducked. It was like an over-under play. He ducked out, got out of trouble.
The rookie tackle.
Yeah,
the rookie tackle.
Exactly.
Swing and a miss.
And, he didn't do a lot of that in the second half, but in the first half, that's what makes Brady Brady.
That's right. Well, it wears on you after a while. You can only take so much, so you can only elude those guys are coming after you like blind dogs in a meat house. So after a while, it's kind of like what else are you going to do?
So blind dogs in a meat house.
Blind dogs in a meat house. It's football speak.
I understand.
Hey, you got your speak. I'm learning it too.
I understand.
We're having fun with it.
And here's something we don't see very often: Adam Vinatieri missing a field goal.
I should have never brought it up last week. I don't know. I think he pulled last week, and then I think he pushed this week. So I don't know. He's trying to, our wedge games in golf. I don't know. We're trying to find that groove, but very unlike Adam. Obviously. He's the man. We all know that.
And he takes that personally.
He does. He's a very, very competitive guy, so he won't sleep well tonight.
All right, neither will any of the Patriots for that matter. In the meantime, let's go back to Bob Lovell. Bob?
Okay, I want to check in with you guys in just a second about this question, but I want to ask Numi here, since they are playing Atlanta next week in Atlanta, and then they're going to Denver obviously, where else would they go to Denver but in Denver? So I asked Numi, would you take a 3-3 record going into the bye week?
Well, I'm going to go back to 2 years ago. And this is deja vu, folks, because I remember on this very program, they were 2-2 at this precise time of the season. And we looked at their schedule, and for the next 5 games, they had Tennessee, where McNair was effective, a decent Giant team, at Miami, Cleveland, and at Denver, as we look at the Patriots' upcoming schedule, which is at Atlanta and at Denver before the bye week. And Bob's question, I remember back then we all agreed when they were 2-2, boy, if they could just be 5-4 going into the bye week, they'd be in good shape with the likes of, Tennessee was a good team at that time, and the Giants were decent. Going into Miami's never easy. Denver, you know all about Mile High. Cleveland was not that difficult. But we said to a man, 5-4, wow, that's where you'd like to be. Win, 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 win. They were 7-2 en route to 14-2 and a Super Bowl. Will that happen this year? Well, who knows? Again, I remember saying that and everyone kind of being in agreement. Yeah, boy, you'd like to be 5-4 back in a couple of years ago.
Well, I wouldn't deviate from that script. I'd say 3-3 would be okay going into the bye week, considering the schedule and this team. What do you think, Ted?
I'll tell you what, this first half of this season is about as hard as it gets after all the Super Bowls for the Patriots to overcome this schedule. It is not an easy schedule. So, and then add on the injuries that you got, emotional leaders. I mean, guys that really led the charge. With those guys missing and this is a brutal first third of the season.
But you still got to play it. Still got to play those games.
You know what? At the end of the day, no one cares. Did you win or did you lose?
That's right.
And that's all that people care about. And so the Patriots obviously got to find a way, and they always have, to overcome it and find a way to win.
I'm going to put you on the spot here talking about Belichick and the play calling. Now, somebody else calls the plays. We know that. But it seems like something's missing here, especially today in the second half. Now, Pittsburgh, they came back and they beat Pittsburgh last week. A lot of times Brady looks very good in that 2-minute offense, no-huddle offense that, when he runs. But the offense today in the second half was stagnant.
It was. And I don't know if the Chargers did a better job of adjusting. I mean, that's
right. It was 17-17, at halftime. So
and that never happens. We're never accused of not being able to make adjustments at halftime, and they seem to make better ones than we did. So They just seemed more aggressive. They were determined to blitz Tom. I don't know how many blitzes they had on Tom, but they were going to exploit that offensive line. There were blown assignments on that offensive line where guys just came in free, and there's only so much you can take as a quarterback, and it'll catch up to you. So they got to nip that in the bud, or it's just going to be a long one.
Corey Dillon in the rushing game. Dillon rushed for 63 yards today. Still not a 100-yard game, but he had a better game than in the past.
It's I feel like he did okay. I think it's hard-earned yards. He's out there, he's dropping his shoulder, he's getting the most out of what he's got right now. So he's got to stay patient because they're going to need him later in the season.
All right, Bob, that's the story here. Let's go back to you.
Okay, thanks. Numi and I will be right back with your results on Player of the Game. We do know the Red Sox will open up in Chicago Tuesday afternoon at 4 o'clock, and we do know that the Yankees will be playing in Anaheim in their best-of-5 series opening up there. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to New England Ford Patriots Fifth Quarter. Brought to you by the New England Ford dealers, home of the best-selling cars and trucks in New England.
Well, there you go. David Gibbons, 10% of the vote. McGinnis, 9. Patrick Pass, 8. And, we do appreciate your interactive participation. It means a lot to know that you're interested. There were a number of players, one particularly who got an overwhelming majority, but he's not active, so therefore not included. So I know your heart was in the right place. It was your vote that was being counted.
It wasn't John Hanna, was it?
Yeah, no, it wasn't John Hanna.
David Givens, by the way, is playing good football for this team. And I'm pleased that the fans voted for him. There was a play earlier in the first half when it was a competitive game. It was a 3rd and 18, and Brady threw it about 14 to David, and he kind of faked left and shifted right, put his head down, and barreled his way for a first down. He had a number of first-half catches. I want to say 6 if memory serves. I know there are very few silver linings when you get your brains beat out 41-17, but I think the fans did a good job in voting for Givens, and I think he's having a good year so far for this club.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, come back and wrap it up, and deal with the local 9. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to New England Ford Patriots Fifth Quarter. Brought to you by the New England Ford dealers, home of the best-selling cars and trucks in New England.
Here's what's coming up next week, and of course it'll be another dramatic one. CBS 4, Patriots at the Falcons. New England Ford game day at 11:30, then a 1 o'clock game, and then the fifth quarter right after the show, and hopefully we'll be in a much better position, football game-wise. But this being the town that it is, we move on. We're not an embarrassment of riches, but a group of riches that we enjoy with both winning football teams and defending champions left and right. So we have one here today that kind of fell on hard times, 41-17, very unusual after 21 straight at home, but they did what they did, and now we have to move on, as they have to move on.
Yeah, you're right. And Atlanta, I think, will be interesting. They are in the process of pounding the Minnesota Vikings this afternoon. I think that score was 21-0 at last check. They present different problems than the Chargers. It'll be more of a smash-mouth physical game, so the Patriots will need to bring attitude to Atlanta next Sunday. They don't have the fancy passing game. Michael Vick doesn't hurt you. But they do have an excellent tight end, an Algie Crumpler. He's a big 6'6", 6'7", strong man, 245, 50 pounds, burlier than Gates. But that tight end will be a big point of emphasis for the Patriots defense. But a little different kind of team, Bob, Atlanta. Again, physical defense, run the football. Mike Vick makes plays. That's how they beat you.
Okay. Numi, as Belichick said, they were beaten in all phases of the game, and indeed they were, if you had a chance to watch the carnage here on CBS 4. 41-17, just not accustomed to this. However, there are other things to be dealt with across town, and the Red Sox are going to the playoffs. That was decided today, and when we come right back, we'll be able to deal with that. For Bob Newmeyer and the whole crew on the fifth quarter, I'm Bob Lobel. We'll just see you in a minute or two.
Looking, firing, he's got the ball now, gets the feet down, touchdown.
you for watching New England Ford Patriots fifth quarter.